Good morning. Welcome to day 2 of Success by Design. I hope you guys had a great evening, and we are just really excited to see you today because it is our hope that lives will be changed. And if you pick up one thing or 3 things, that is a step in the right direction. So you are exactly where you need to be today. Congratulations for being here. If you missed anything yesterday, don't feel like you missed anything. We will be going back to it today. You can always catch the replay. And I have put our website in the chat and also a link to our contact us page. So at any time, if you want to contact us for a strategy session, they are free. Feel free to use that link in the chat. So yesterday we went over setting up a goal or a vision for your life, and some of you may have had problems with that. You see, our mind gets in the way sometimes because if the vision is too close, like if it's a year from now, our subconscious mind is like, there's no way that's going to happen. And it almost short circuits it for us. So there is a trick. The trick is when you're setting up a vision, and the question is, what would I really want? What would I love? That's a question to ask yourself. But put yourself 3 years in the future. Say it is March 6th, 2027. And I am so happy and grateful now that I live in this beautiful house, I'm married, children, I have a perfect job, whatever that is. I make so much a month or so much a year. I'm enjoying life. You see, if you go 3 years in the future, you trick your mind because your mind's like, possible, maybe not probable, but it is a possibility. So if you are having trouble getting a vision or goals, you can try that. It may help. And I'll give you a couple other tips. If you just feel overwhelmed and it's hard to work on the vision, break down your life into 4 quadrants. Your health. What would your health look like 3 years from now? Would you be full of energy? Would you get up just eager to start the day? How would you look? What would your weight be? What do you eat? What do you do every day? What about your relationships? How are they? Your relationships with a significant other, spouse, children, parents, coworkers. Your vocation, what would you be doing 3 years from now if you got everything you wanted? And the last, time and money freedom. Would you have the time to do what you want when you want? And will you have the money to have the freedom to go where you want to go and do what you want to do? So those are ways you can get to your vision if you sit down and start journaling on those 4 quadrants and make it 3 years out, and it'll make it easier for you to get there. You see, as far as we know, we have one life, and it's all about how you want to live. It's all about the contribution you want to make in the world. And it's all dependent on how you see yourself, like Steve said yesterday. So you need to see yourself 3 years from now having everything you want come into your life, come into fruition. That's what we want for each and every one of you. Today, I'm going to bring Steve on, and he's going to talk about making a decision to have this vision come into reality into your life, to help you learn to take those steps that'll get you there. Like Martin Luther King Jr. said, you don't need to see the full staircase. You just need to take that first step, 1% better every day, and you're going to skyrocket. With that, I'm going to throw it over to Steve because he's got a great lesson for us today, and I see he is ready to go.
I am. Thank you, Susan. And thank you, everybody that has come back and joined us today. Even if today was the first day you've joined, it doesn't matter. You're going to pick up where we left off yesterday, and I'm going to repeat a number of the things we talked about yesterday. And give me a moment to share my screen. Hopefully everybody can see that.
It looks good.
Excellent. And, we're going to go over some things today that are Practical tips, talking about getting out of your comfort zone, talking about making decisions. I'm going to talk extensively about that today because one of the things that so many people struggle with is making a decision. And if they make a decision, they don't stick with it. They don't have the conviction, or they quickly doubt themselves, and whatever decision they made begins to slide. I'm going to talk about your self-image, how your self-image plays into your ability to go after your goals, how you see yourself has a tremendous involvement in goal setting and goal attainment. And I'm going to touch on procrastination, the enemy of all momentum and all growth. We talked yesterday about results and how results provide everything. They give us the honest feedback of where things are at in our life. Your results don't lie. Your results tell you the story. They tell you how you're going after those goals you have. You see, in front of you is a limitless life waiting. I said yesterday, I was going to say this over and over again. There is infinite possibilities inside you. Your life is limitless. It's just waiting for you to rip the lid off and open it up and let it out. But you see, if you live in fear, if you're afraid of decisions, you're afraid of change, perhaps you're afraid of success. You're afraid, how is it going to be if I actually change my model and become successful? If that's how you live, you're going to come up short. If you live in faith, you have a belief, and you receive your idea and say to yourself, this is fact, it's going to happen. Faith is going to work for you. Faith is just another word for belief. But here's an interesting story. Both faith and fear live in your house. They just each live in a different room. So I'd ask you, which room do you visit? Do you visit the room of faith? Or do you allow yourself to spend time in the room of fear? You see, the work is overcoming our old self. The work is all about changing our fears, changing those old beliefs. We mentioned paradigms yesterday, changing those paradigms and those limiting beliefs that have always held us back. We want to build a better version of ourselves. Your mind is like a garden, this vast garden. But what are you planting in that garden? Are you planting scarcity? Or are you planting abundance? You see, you have a choice. So many people fear decision making. They'd rather have a miracle happen than to have to actually make a decision. And it just doesn't work that way. Life's not always predictable. It's not a predictable affair. But one of the things we have to do, if we're going to enact change, if we're going to change those paradigms, those thoughts, those behaviors that hold us back, we have to get out of our comfort zone. You see, your life is full of opportunities, but you're never going to stay anywhere beyond, you're never going to get anywhere beyond your comfort zone if you don't get out of it. You've got to step out. You got to step out into the unknown. You got to be willing to take some risks. And one of the things you're going to find, and I've found this over the years, that when you do things that are uncomfortable, maybe it's uncharacteristic of you, once you've done it, you find out it wasn't that big of a deal. I made a lot about nothing, and it really didn't hold me back. So have the courage to act, have the courage to take action, because once you do that, you can begin to translate your goals into reality. When you're going after after something you want, you got to take an active role. You've really got to take an active role to set into motion the things you want to have done. And on the way, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. And there's one thing you've got to be willing to do along this journey. You have to be willing to make a mistake. We all make mistakes. I said yesterday, failure is a part of success as long as you learn from your failure and continue on. You're only a failure if you give up, if you quit. So be willing to make a mistake. Laugh at it. Okay, that didn't work. I've learned something. Now I'm going to go a different route and I'm going to continue on my journey. It's not always easy. A lot of people are so afraid of making mistakes, they don't ever step forward. They fear failure. Failure is so paralyzing that it stops their progress. But you need to learn that along the way, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to do things that scare us. Stepping out of that comfort zone may scare us. It's a boundary we haven't crossed before, but it's going to be okay. You see, how you see yourself matters. That inner self-talk and what you tell yourself about who you are, that matters. The one thing you can never outperform is your self-image. If you have a limiting self-image, if you see yourself as not strong, not good enough, You're never going to get past that. The broader and the bigger and the more powerful your self-image is, the more you can attain. There's no limit to what you can attain. There's nothing that's holding you back. And the good news is, if you've got some limiting beliefs, if you've got things in your life that have held you back in the past, we can change it. So, what version of yourself do you portray? Do you have that little kitten there, or do you see yourself as the big lion? What portrayal do you want to have the outside world see? You see, so many people see themselves as an extra in their own movie. Your life is your movie. It's nobody else's. You're living it. You're the star. Your life is your movie, but so many people see themselves as extras in their movie. Are you one of them? Do you let others step up? Do you let others take the lead and take the accolades that go along with an accomplishment? You sit back in the wings, and maybe many times you're mad at yourself thinking, I should have stepped up. I should have done that. I could have done that. That's part of being bold. That's part of getting out of that comfort zone. That's part of doing things that may in the past have been uncharacteristic of you, but it's going to grow you so much into the future. You see, when we have that inner self-talk, when we're talking to ourselves, there's nobody, and I mentioned this yesterday, there's nobody ever in your life that you'll talk to more than yourself. Those inner conversations dictate who you are. It's a habit we all indulge in. But you see, your actions are representative of that self-talk. If you're belittling yourself, if you're self-deprecating, if you're putting yourself down with that inner talk, if you're downright mean to yourself, there it goes. That's the soundtrack of your life. But if we can reverse that, reverse engineer that, and we can be positive, be uplifting, tell ourselves things that are affirming, things that are good, change words from can't to I can, I will, I'm able, I'm doing it, I'm making progress. As we affirm ourselves with that uplifting talk, that too becomes a soundtrack of our life. That changes the dynamic in the pursuit of your goal. You see, to change results, we have to change the view of ourselves. We have to look at the direction of our inner talk, and we have to re-engineer those pathways and put them in alignment with the goal we have. Our mind is a treasure trove of ideas and infinite possible mental conversations. And the person that can harness those conversations, that can pull that power of the inner thinking in and control it and make it positive, they're the ones that are meeting their goals and realizing every ability they have in life. But if you don't have control, if you're unconsciously letting yourself be negative to yourself, then you're going to continue down the present path that right now you're saying, I want to change. So we have to make those changes in order to move forward. Neville Goddard states that most of us are totally unaware of the fact that our inner conversations are the cause of circumstances in our life. We've all got friends, family members, friends that it seems like every time we get into a conversation, they rehash old woes. And some of these old woes go back a year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 or more years. And many times you're thinking, heard it before. I got my own woes that I deal with myself. But you see, they're a victim of circumstance. And as I mentioned to us all yesterday, we think in pictures. So as you conjure up any of these old negative thoughts, you're visualizing it in your mind. It's becoming fresh. That movie is playing right on the forefront of your mind, and we're giving it life. We're breathing energy into it. We're allowing it to now take over and control our thoughts. That's where we have to stop. I want to say this quote again because it's so powerful. Most people are totally unaware that of the fact that their inner conversations are the cause of their circumstances in life. Sure, there are things outside of us that we encounter. That's a given. That happens every day. But most circumstances, most sustained events in our life are a direct result of our thinking. You see, we each have an identity. There's an identity. You can look at your friends and family and you can kind of peg the type of person they are. They have an identity. They have an outward portrayal that we see. That's part of that self-image, that portrayal you want the world to see of yourself. Your inner conversations create it. That's what you attract in life. There are so many people that go around in circles trying to change their disappointments, trying to change any misfortune they've had, but they haven't taken time to accept the fact that it's because of their own inner thinking. They put blame on everybody else. Those are your victims. They're victims of circumstances because all they want to do is blame something else for their own shortcomings or perhaps even failures. But it's not situations or circumstances caused by others. That may be the belief, but I'm telling you, that's the wrong determination. If you can practice the art of inner self talk, inner control, you'll become able to use your imagination and transform and redirect your creative energies. And you move things. We talked a little bit yesterday. Our thoughts are mental. So we come up with ideas mentally. We move them to the emotional. That's where the emotional mind takes over. And think of it this way. If something scares you, you see it, you think it, and boom, it scares you. You have an emotional reaction. If something pleases you, you see it, it pleases you, you have a pleasing emotional reaction. So we think of things, we have an emotional reaction. That turns into what we do as far as how we act and how we react, and that becomes the results we get. So if we can control those inner thoughts, make them positive, have a positive emotional connection, our actions will be positive, therefore, our results will be positive. Again, it's limitless what we're able to do. There was a doctor from back in the late 40s and 50s, and in 1960, Dr. Maxwell Maltz wrote a book. And it was a book that was unlike anything Dr. Maltz had ever done because Maxwell Maltz was a plastic surgeon. He was the guy that if you had a scar on your face, he would go in and fix it and make you look good again. And what prompted him to write a book in 1960 called Psycho-Cybernetics was the fact that he saw such amazing reactions in people that he'd performed surgery on. And what's interesting, if you look at the name Psycho-Cybernetics, please don't think of it as a highly cerebral book. It is, I think, it is the greatest book that I have ever read. And it's a very easy read and it's very insightful, but it's all about self-image. It opens your mind and opens your eyes to so many things. But what he says is our self-image, strongly held, essentially determines what we become. And what Dr. Maltz found was he had somebody that had a disfiguring scar. They'd had it for life. They'd always been withdrawn. They'd always seen themselves as ugly. They never really saw themselves as being part of the normal crowd. But when he performed the surgery and they were perfect, he saw this other side of them come out, this emotion, this gregariousness, this ability to all of a sudden interconnect with people and become part of everything they'd withdrawn from. But interestingly enough, conversely, he had people with the same situation. And when he performed the surgery, nothing changed. They still saw themselves withdrawn. They still saw themselves as ugly. They didn't see themselves as good enough to be with other people or attending events. And that's that inner self-talk. One person was able to change it and make a change in their life, where another person, even though they'd gone through a dramatic change, hadn't learned to change the inner thinking in their life. Therefore, the way their outlook on life was, it never changed. It's a fascinating book. I would strongly suggest anybody to pick up Psycho-Cybernetics. Susan said it earlier. It's one day or day one, you decide. You know, there's a basic universal law in the world that says create or disintegrate. And what indecision causes is disintegration. It reminds me of a song from a group that I've enjoyed over the years, Rush. And they have a song called Free Will. And in the song, one of the lyrics is, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. And every time I hear about people's indecision, that Rush lyric pops into my head. That's why I mention it. But people who struggle in life to make decisions are letting life run them rather than running their own life. Even though they haven't made a decision, they have made a decision. They made a decision to do nothing. So again, you go back and look at the results you're getting. And how are the decisions you're making in life supporting those results? If the results aren't good and the decisions you're making are supporting it, we need to change those decisions. We need to change them so that whatever goal you have, whatever goal you hold or vision in your life, your decisions start to move you in that direction and support that. You see, the universe wants us to have everything. The universe has said everything is out there, everything's already created, but it's our job to get on the frequency of whatever it is we want. If you remember yesterday, I showed the slide of the frequencies and how they're all connected, one above the other. And it's like turning a dial on a radio, going from 88 to 105 to get on the right frequency. Well, if our thoughts are on this low frequency and our goal, our vision is on a high frequency, we need to match that frequency to match that goal. And the universe wants us to have that. But our job is we got to get on the right frequency. If you're thinking thoughts like, well, when this happens, then I'll probably start moving towards the direction of my goal, or if that happens, or, thoughts like that, that's not a decision. That is procrastination. You see, your mental conversations today, they don't fall back to the past. Everything you're thinking today is being advanced forth and spread into the future of our lives. Everything you're thinking today is permeating what's going to become. And our self-image propels us forward to new heights, or it pulls us back. So if your thoughts are negative, you're going to pull your self-image and yourself back. If your thoughts are positive, you're going to move forward. You're going to see possibilities and see things starting to come to you that never had before. So ask yourself right now, and let's go back to a little bit of what we did yesterday. What is my goal? And when you get the goal in mind, ask yourself the next question. Does my inner self-talk match it? It has to match. You can't have talk down here and a goal up here and think you're going to get there. You're out of alignment. Your goal and your talk, wherever they may be, they have to match. Your inner self-talk has to match a goal. And as you control that inner talk and you match it with your desires, you'll become clear in both your imagination and your intent in moving towards your goal. That's why it's so important for that inner talk to match the goal. You see, there's two things our Creator, God, bestowed upon man that no other animal truly has to the level we do, which is we have a mind that can think broadly and imaginatively and creatively. We also have speech. Animals act on instinct. An animal's born, they're comfortable in their environment, and they live in that environment. Whether it's a lion that roams the prairie and is a hunter, that's all it does, or it's a giraffe that roams a prairie and eats leaves off of trees, or it's a hippo that lives in a mud hole. That's their lot in life. That's what they do. But man, we create our environment. Man can create anything, not just the environment, but where we live, how we live. We can pick up and move tomorrow and go to another side of the world. We can create anything we want in life. As he said yesterday at the close, if you can dream it, you can do it. You can open your mind to any possibilities. And because we're given a mind, we're given speech, and we're given these creative powers, the infinite possibilities are out there. You create your future, but you start that by your inner conversations. Deciding what you want to become and how to get it, they're two different things. So you got to trust in the power greater than us to put it out there, put it out to the universe and say, this is what I'm going for. And then trust in yourself to match that frequency and move in the direction of that goal, match what that higher power is doing for us. And what's interesting is these concepts have been taught throughout history. This isn't some new age thinking. This isn't something that came out in the last several decades. This goes back centuries upon centuries upon centuries. Marcus Aurelius, going back centuries ago, said, a man's life is what his thoughts make of it. Profound from many centuries ago. In the 1800s, the great author, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, a man is what he thinks about all day long. Equally from that era in the 1800s, the author William James said, if you care enough for a result, you'll almost certainly obtain it. If you wish to be rich, you'll be rich. If you wish to be learned, you'll be learned. If you wish to be good, you'll be good. Again, your thoughts can become your reality. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. Again, as I said earlier, it's part of the growth. There's a life out there beyond where you're at today, beyond the bubble that all of us live in. There's something greater, beyond the personal thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs we have today, we can expand that into something amazing. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, do something that makes you uncomfortable every day and grow. I'm paraphrasing what's on the board. But she said, do something that makes you uncomfortable every day. I can attest to that every single day. Part of what I have in my goals for the day that I want to accomplish, there's something that I'm not comfortable with. Not so much that it scares me, but maybe it's doing something, it's interacting, it's speaking somewhere, it's a conversation, I'm being interviewed or I'm doing videos. At times there are things that maybe on that particular day I'm not really comfortable with, but I do it. And as I said earlier, every time I do, I empower myself. I come out at the back end of it going, I'm so glad I did that. It wasn't that hard. In fact, it was enjoyable and quite easy. You see, taking these risks and getting out of our comfort zone is what grows us. Even if we screw up royally, who cares? You learn from it, you move on. Nothing's going to happen that's horribly bad by taking a risk and getting out of your comfort zone. If you stay comfortable, you're settling for mediocrity. And I don't want anybody to do that. I want everybody to see the greatness in you. We talked about greatness yesterday. It's in you, just waiting to come out. Let it out. Let it come out from you. Be great. Embrace the uncomfortable challenges that you face. You'll continually step to the next level, the next level, the next level. And when you get several levels up, you look back down and you go, wow, those things that used to make me uncomfortable are nothing. But lack of decision, there's an interesting study done by world leaders in business, and the number one reason for the major cause of failure was the lack of decision. And I'll tell you, I've worked for some great leaders over the years, and I've worked for some wonderful people. But I worked for a couple of leaders that one of their knocks on them was they could never make a decision. And I've had friends that were leaders, and we played golf together. We did dinners together with families, and I worked for them. But I knew that the one thing that would happen in the office, they could never make a decision. They were paralyzed. They were afraid. And that's no different than how some people look at their lives today. You're multi-million-dollar earners. The people that you see that are at the top of your profession or just in media today, those are people that make decisions quickly and prominently, and they don't generally change them. They go with them. They're slow to change, but they're quick. They make irrevocable, committed decisions, and they don't look back. They move forward. Those are the people that are making the 6 to 7 figures or more in the world today. And it's not just incomes or possessions or your work or your status in your job that are affected. Your whole life is determined by this. Think about today. You woke up this morning. How many decisions have you made already today? If you got out a piece of paper right now and started jotting down all the decisions you made, you got up. You chose what to wear. You decided to have breakfast or not. And if you did, what did you eat? How did you commute to work? Did you take the same route? Did you go another way? When you got to work, did you mingle with some of your coworkers? Did you go right to your desk and start working? What are your plans for lunch? What are your plans when you get home? Which way are you taking home? I mean, we're making decisions all day. While you're working, you're making decisions on behalf of your company. You're making decisions all day long. And people that can make those decisions, people that can just step up and do it, are the ones that are moving their futures forward. I had a dear friend, God rest his soul, he's no longer with us due to a tragic accident, but his name was Tim, and Tim and I were very close. And Tim was one of these people, I called him the Michael Jordan of sales because he could sell anybody anything. And he was very good looking. He was a ladies' man. I used to joke that he could walk into a crowded bar of 500 people and go sit in the far corner. And if a pretty girl walked in, there's a pretty good chance that within 5 minutes she'd be sitting at his side, laughing at any jokes he was telling. He just had that magnanimous personality. But one of the funniest things with Tim was, as much as he was a great salesman, he could not make a decision. Every decision he ever made had to be a consensus. He would come in my office, he'd sit down on my couch, he'd put his feet up, he'd put his hands behind his head, he'd go, Eklund, let me ask you a question. What should I do? And he'd have some elaborate ruse or some story or a car he was buying or a house or a relationship, but he wanted an answer. Tim was one of those people that could go ask 100 people, should I do A or should I do B? And if 99 people said it's A and one person went, A or B, I could go either way, he was totally confused. He could not make a decision. And he had great, great ability in his life. He could go on and do some amazing things, but as much as he did do, he still held himself back quite a bit because he had this inability to make a firm decision. He would never commit. So deep down, you know what you want. You know, you may want to go get the consensus of a few friends or family members, and at times that's okay. But the bottom line is, you know deep down what you want, so commit and do it. Why do anything different? The most important lesson I ever learned in management was never to vacillate, make a decision. I was pretty good in the business world of making decisions and moving on. Our teams were always top performing teams. And it's because we didn't vacillate. You didn't have staff working for me going, well, what's he going to do? What are we doing? What's the plan? I mean, they knew the plan. I laid out the vision all the time. I used to tell my employees this every day, you're going to make at least 100 decisions. So let's just use that as a round number. You make 100 decisions a day. You know what the reality is? 98 of them are going to be spot on, right decision. One of them, could have gone either way. One decision, you probably should have gone the other way. But guess what? That's the beauty of life. If you didn't make the right decision, if that was a mistake or a failure, we correct it, we move around it, we chart a new course, and we move on. We make another decision to do it the right way. Nothing you're going to do is going to end anything. So make the decision. So I would empower my staff. I would say, look, I trust you. Make a decision. I don't want to make every decision. I don't want to make the decisions for every department that reports to me. I want you to make the decision. And if you make one that we probably should have done something different, we'll talk about it, we'll fix it, and we'll move forward. And because of that empowerment, that's why I had such great teams. We all had a common objective and a common goal, and they knew they could make a decision and no one's going to come running up behind them and beat them over the head and wondering why they did what they did. You see, everything comes back to results. Why do we have great results? Because I taught my people to make decisions and they learned to make great decisions, just like you will do with your vision. Make the decisions, learn to make them and move on. And if you make a mistake, go forward, turn around and find a new way. But you won't hit your goal if you don't make a decision. You will fail because of your inability to make a decision. That's why it's so important. And what's interesting to me is decision's not taught at any school. It's not taught at the grade school level. It's not taught in any junior or senior high school. It's not even taught in college. As a matter of fact, in all my years in business, nobody ever in corporate HR from a corporate training department came down and said, let's do a whole class on decision making. We just trust that whoever we put in the leadership role could make decisions. Hence why all of us can probably say we work for people that don't make good decisions. It's not taught. So if it's not taught, how do you learn? Well, it's easier than you may think. It just takes practice. It takes confidence. It takes repetition. You act immediately. When you get an idea, I said it yesterday, take action immediately. Remember I said tattoo it on your forehead. Act immediately. Do it right now. Own it. It's not difficult. Get the facts, make your decision, and move on. And you'll start doing that over and over again. It becomes easier and easier. But so many people procrastinate. Are you one of them? Are you one of those people that one day goes by, 2 days, 4 days, all of a sudden you're saying, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll start that next week. Maybe when I get a new job, I'll do that. Maybe when I've lost the weight, I'll do that. Maybe when my kids graduate, we'll do that. When I. That procrastination becomes such a crutch. It becomes very easy. Quitting is easy. Procrastination is even easier. It's like a disease. It's the enemy. You're kidding yourself. When you're procrastinating, you're killing all of your momentum. I said at the opening of this session, procrastination is the enemy of momentum. Try to allow yourself not to fall prey to it. When you get an idea, When you know you've got to do something, act immediately and do it. Knock it off the to-do list and move on. And that way you won't procrastinate, let it slide. Again, when Susan said today can be one day or today could be day one, I want you to say, today's the day. Start now. Forget January 1. Forget the resolution and goal that you set that has fallen by the wayside or is on life support right now. Forget it. Today is your January 1. March 6th, if I'm correct, March 6th is January 1. Start today. So you got off to a slow start. So you hadn't really thought through the decisions and the inner self-talk and the procrastination, the paradigms, and all these things we've talked about in the last few days. Put it to rest. Start today. Don't put yourself down. Celebrate today as a renewal. Today is your January 1. Start today and chart a new course. The old story is behind us. Let's start writing a new story going forward. And you might be sitting there thinking to yourself, well, I don't know, Steve. I failed before. What if I fail again? I always seem to start and stop. How do I make it this time as the one that I move on? Well, do the steps that I shared with you. Take control. Look at your goal and start. Remember, get your goal in mind and plant it in your brain. Write it down. Carry it with you. Carry it in your wallet, your purse. Post it somewhere where you remind yourself of it all day. Like I said, I got my 5 goals right here to my left. I can reach out and touch them. Visualize that goal in the morning. When you wake up, that goal should be the first thing on your mind. My vision is X. When you go to bed at night, visualize it again, but visualize it to greater detail. Feel it. See yourself as already having attained that goal. How does it feel? What's the world look like around you? How does it feel? How do you carry yourself? What are you wearing? How are you interacting with people? What kind of dignity do you feel you have in yourself now that you've attained that goal? That's the way I want you to look at it. And again, on the front of your mind, tattoo, do it now, not tomorrow. If your first impulse is, I'll start tomorrow, you've already sunk. If you're watching this right now, and I'm telling you to set your goal and make today day one, to make today your new January 1, and you're saying, I'll start tomorrow, you've already started down the path of procrastination and holding back. Just because you didn't do it the last time, or the last 10 times, or 100 times, or 1,000 times, it doesn't matter. You can do it now. Because you haven't in the past means nothing. Socrates said, falling down is not failure. Failure comes when you stay where you have fallen, when you don't get back up. It takes an intense hunger to reach your goals. And when your want and your desire is big enough that it becomes so intense, that's when you know you're on your way. When you say to yourself, I am going to do this, that's where that faith or fear comes in. You're now living with faith. You're now believing. You're pushing fear to the wayside. Your job is to set the goal and to have the faith to persevere. If you're not living with goals or dreams, if you don't have a vision of something you're shooting for, it's like living in a prison. Nothing changes, nothing evolves. Your creative imagination's gone stagnant. You're just existing. And there's so much better inside of you. That infinite potential is waiting to come out, and you can dictate it. There's no limit to what's in your mind. The only limit to anything you can do is what your mind says you can or can't do. Your opinion of yourself, and I want to make sure I stress this, your opinion of yourself is the only opinion that matters. Period. End of story. You know, when I got into management and I got into leadership 30, 35 years ago, there's one thing I had to tell myself then, and I carried it with me throughout, and that is being a leader is not a popularity contest. Not everybody's going to agree with every decision. There's always going to be some naysayer for whatever decision it is. Look at our political parties. You got people on what they call the left and what they call the right, and nobody's in sync with each other. One group is all in here and one group is all out there, and vice versa. You need to make a decision. You need not to worry about the opinions of others. In fact, one of the things I did find out in my career was when you would make a decision, and sometimes it wasn't popular, when that decision came to fruition, Those naysayers were the ones that would walk up to you and go, that was a great idea. It really worked out. I'm glad we did this. You had the right vision. I didn't trust it at first, but I see where it led us. This is great. That'll happen. So you got to stick with what's in here. And your opinion of yourself is the only opinion that matters. You see, your spiritual DNA, we all have it. Your spiritual DNA is absolutely perfect. Requires no modifications. It requires no improvement. Your spiritual DNA is all knowing. It's all powerful. It's all present. It's the real you. And your goals are there to take you where you want to go. And your spiritual DNA is perfect to help you do that. Courage is opening the door and looking for positive change. Big things are coming. I'm telling you, big things are coming. You just need to believe it. I believe it. I know it. And if you don't believe it right now, then believe in my belief. Believe that I believe it's going to happen for you, because I know it is. I have no doubt in my mind. Great things are ahead for you. So if you're having doubt, believe in my belief. You see, your past is just a story. So let's rewrite the present. Everything you do, every decision you make now is an investment in your future going forward. So be fearless. Don't be afraid to make those decisions. Steve Bowe, who was a top insurance executive in America, once said that God's gift to us is more talent and ability than we all will ever hope to use in our lifetime. Our gift to God is to develop as much of that talent and ability as we can in this lifetime. I think that's very powerful. God's gift to us is limitless. We can tap into it and try to do as much as we can and try to develop as much of that ability. We're meant for growth. We were designed to grow. So let's go out and let's grow. Goals are good for your soul. They give you a purpose, a plan, there's action. They give you something to go for. You have a direction. You know what you're going for. You have purpose when you make a decision to go for something. And your why has to be big. You won't achieve anything without a big why. Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to go there? Why do I want to have this? But it has to be stronger than any inner self-talk that's saying, oh, why not? Why do you want to do that? Why not do that? Why not do that? You want your why to be bigger. That develop your willpower, your will to move forward, your will to succeed will help you move through any of those negative thoughts. You're where you're at today, right now, where you need to be. Susan said it earlier. You're exactly where you need to be right now. You're needing to hear this. You're needing to have this inspiration because you have goals that you want to go for. You may have been timid in setting them. I'm telling you, be bold and go after it. It's what changed my life. My career for the better was when I decided to take control and make decisions, and it put me on a trajectory that was constantly rising. You can too. Make the definite decision. If you're not making any decision, you're not using inspiration. And inspiration, even if you have a thought of something and you don't take action, that's nothing but mere entertainment. We've all heard of the actor Jim Carrey. You may have heard the story. Many of you may have not. Jim Carrey, when he was a struggling comedian and actor, before he was well known, he wrote himself a check. He wrote a check. It was like a gold card. He wrote a check for $10 million to himself. $10 million to himself, and he carried it with him. And his goal was to become the first actor to ever be paid $10 million for making a movie. And Jim persevered. He became famous. He was on the TV show In Living Color, started to become very popular with his voice and faces, and that morphed into acting in movies, and he started with Ace Ventura. But he made a movie, probably a movie that most people didn't stop and think about at the time, called Dumb and Dumber. And the irony of this whole story is that it was Dumb and Dumber that he was paid more than $10 million for his role in that movie. Of all the movies he could have done, it was Dumb and Dumber. But he met that goal. He had it. He visualized it. He worked for it. He wrote it out. He put it in his pocket and carried it with him. And he made his dream become his reality. And it's no different for you to do the same thing. As I said earlier, circumstances are stumbling blocks. Jim overcame his in spite of what he was faced with. I want you to pursue this. I want you to go after it. I don't want you to be thinking, I'd like to do this, but I've got this issue, I've got that issue, I've got this situation, I've got that situation. That's your procrastination coming back in. That's holding you back. You're not making a decision. Set the goal, make it an irrevocable, committed decision, and move on. Again, if you have weak wants, you're going to have weak actions, you're going to have weak results. Has to be a strong want, a strong desire. You have to have convictions to go after your goal. Charles Kettering said, an inventor fails 999 times, and if he succeeds once, he's in. He treats his failures simply as practice shots. That goes back to the Edison story yesterday. 10,000 plus times to build the incandescent light bulb. And when asked about his failure 10,000 times, his answer was, I never failed. I had 10,000 bits of feedback. You see, an inventor can fail so many times, but he never quits. He never stays where he fell down, like Socrates said. He gets up, he moves on, he perseveres. And you and I turn on light switches every day and we don't even give it a second thought. We expect the lights to go on. That's all because of what Thomas Edison did. Decisions, or the lack of decisions, are making or breaking everything you desire in life. Napoleon Hill put that in his book, Think and Grow Rich. And again, it comes back to the decisions. Winning is a decision. You decide you're going to win. It's going to take discipline. It's going to change your image. It's going to change your attitude. But when you put all that together, you win. Bruce Lee, famous martial artist and actor, I love some of his quotes, especially the one that says, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. You see, your goals and decisions are yours. Commit to them for you and not for anybody else. Take the repetition, take the dedication it's going to take to make it come true. And then your self-talk should always be, I am, and there's no I can'ts, there's no won'ts, there's no never haves, there's no circumstances, there's no negativity. Stop all that immediately. Everything is I am, I can, I'm able, I'm willing. And let's get started. Now you may feel discomfortable. You may feel discomfort. So I don't know if that was a word. You may feel discomfort because now you're starting to make firm decisions. You're making the attempt. That's great. I applaud you. And if you haven't done that before, if you've never made firm decisions, if you've always been wishy-washy, if you've always kind of really never been in on it, you've always worried about the opinion of others, do it. Go for it. Being uncomfortable is good. Tell yourself that. It's good. It's a sign of growth. It's a sign of getting out of your comfort zone. It's a sign of success and progress. Remember yesterday we talked about just being 1% better every day, just 1%. I challenge you for the next 30 days to put into practice being 1% better every day for the next 30 days. You do that, and you'll never stop being 1% better the rest of your life. It'll be a habit. When your wants are coming from your heart, and your heart's sending a signal to yourself and to the universe that your imagination and your subconscious mind and everything is in sync, you're going to move in the direction of your goals so quickly. And you're going to know where you're going. And you're going to have the way revealed to you along the way. Remember the house building story I told about yesterday? Susan and I were going to build a house. We didn't know how. We didn't know where. We didn't know how we were going to pay for it. But the way was revealed to us. We made it happen. And we did that when we were very young. It doesn't matter what age you are. The most important person in your life, I want you to go look in the mirror. That person looking back at you is the most important person in your life. Start today. Just start making a move in the direction of your goal. Wake up, commit to it. I want you to repeat after me. From this moment on, I am attaining my goal and becoming the very best version of myself. As I said earlier, if you can dream it, you can do it. Now believe it and go out and make it happen. And I'm going to turn this back over to Susan. Thank you all.
Thank you, Steve. I'm back on. That was great. And what we can take from that is we have to bet on ourselves, right? When you look in the mirror, who's the best person? You have 100% control of that bet. You bet on yourself. You make it happen. If it doesn't, well, you were 100% in control. It's really a sure bet. And like Steve said, I love thinking of my life as a movie. It's my movie, right? I am the leading actor. I am also the producer and the director. So if I don't like what's going on, if I don't like what's coming at me today, I can edit that screenplay at any time. I can rewrite the script. I am in charge of that. And that just gives you so much power. That power is inside each and every one of us. And like Steve said, you got to do something every day that gets you out of your comfort zone. I mean, sometimes you just feel sick to your stomach when it happens, but then you know you're going in the right direction. So stretch yourself. Be around people that stretch you. Not only, like stretch your mind, stretch what you think is possible, because the possibilities for us are endless. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. There's nothing we cannot do. Truly. The five senses, yeah, Steve talked about those yesterday, they can get in our way. I know some of you are saying, but Susan, you haven't seen my bank account. You don't know what I'm up against. You don't know my family situation. You cannot ignore what you're seeing in your five senses. They are there to help you interact with the world. But you have to believe you are far more powerful than any of that. The power inside of you is so much greater than anything that you see on the outside. Don't ignore something that you see. Just say, yeah, that's it. And that's temporary. And go on. Don't waste time. Don't waste emotion on that. See it neutrally. It is what it is. Go on. So I want you to believe in yourself. And I want to leave you with, it's more of an affirmation. It's from a prayer, really, that I read every day. And it's just a little segment. So listen to this and repeat it in your head, because each one of us, this applies to. Today, I expect success in everything I do. Today and every day, I show up for myself with unconditional love. I show up for all the people who I am called to serve. Today is a very important day, as someone's life will be touched because I showed up for them. Never doubt how important you are to this world. Never doubt that you are making a difference. You are an integral part of someone's life, of the universe. You are an integral piece of that puzzle. So today, I want you to revisit that vision from yesterday. I want you to give it some more oomph. And I want you to know that you can truly bring into your life anything that you desire. That is all Steve and I have for you today. I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you back here at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.